Hello everyone, I'm April, DevRel Manager here at Apryse, and today I'm very excited to be joined by Josh Gozner from our Solutions Engineering team. Hello Josh.
Hey April.
So Josh, what do you want to talk about today?
I'm excited today to talk about CLMs. CLM stands for Contract Lifecycle Management, and it's really the software that companies use to manage contracts, from creation of a contract to negotiation to execution where you send it out for signing, to storage, archiving, and even termination of that contract.
People I'm sure have experienced doing this in some way, signing a lease, buying a house, opening a credit card. Can you give some examples of what the different contract types could be?
That can vary depending on the industry, but some common ones are NDAs, there's employee agreements, MSAs. The most important thing is it's a legal binding agreement between two or more parties that are involved.
What are some common problems that companies may come across when they're working with CLM tools today?
The biggest challenge is trying to find, a solution that can meet your requirements. And typically with off-the-shelf CLM software, you're lacking a lot of that customization, or, there's a huge amount of capabilities that you don't need.
If Apryse is not something that you can just kind of buy and start using right away as a CLM, how does Apryse fit in?
How we fit here, we're providing you a toolkit that has all of these different pieces of functionality, and it's up to you and your developers to pick and choose what you need. So if you start small, you can do that and then slowly add more capabilities as those requirements come in, from either your customers or your own product team.
Can you talk a little bit about where you can actually use Apryse, like how you can embed it into your systems?
Yeah, certainly. So we have a few SDKs available. We have our WebViewer SDK, that's more on the front end where you would typically embed within a web page. That could either be a platform like Appian or Salesforce. Could also be your own internal application or your front-facing customer application. We also have mobile SDKs, whether you need to support Android and iOS. And we have server SDKs as well to facilitate more of that batch processing where you don't need a user interface.
And that's if you have the server is really helpful if you're dealing with hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of contracts, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And due to the nature of us being an SDK, all of the processing is done within the customer's environment. No document data is ever sent out. So we work with a lot of banks, federal entities, very heavily regulated industries, and they're able to utilize us because we're an embedded solution.
That's a really good point. Like a lot of these cloud solutions, you have to upload your documents and send it over to them, and they have access to your stuff. We don't have access to anything. We're just giving you the code that enables you to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we should get into the demo.
So let's jump in. So I've built a very simple web application here that integrates our WebViewer SDK. I have 3 tabs here. One is a templates section, users, and agreements section. Within templates, this is where you're going to create documents that live as templates for you to be able to reuse that as part of, let's say, NDAs that you send to employees or other companies. Employee agreements as well as something whenever maybe you're onboarding a new employee. Once you have these templates defined, you'll fill this with information to generate a document that you send out for signature that will live in the agreement section. And once that user has signed that agreement, it's marked complete. So I'll go through just a very simple demo of how we go through editing templates, creating that final contract, sending it out, and then signing it.
Let's jump into the editing. So you're telling me I don't need to download a file and do something else and upload it later. I can just do it right in here.
Yeah, that's correct. So I've just opened up the NDA template that I have here. And as you see, it's completely embedded within the web app. And this is actually a native word editing experience that we have. And there's no license requirement. There's no server dependency. And I'm able to then, make modifications to this template. You'll see here, of course, I have some variables. I can add additional variables that later on will pre-fill with user information. And if I just scroll down, you'll also see a signature placeholder. That's where we'll place a digital signature field for the user to then sign.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So this is definitely very helpful to have more of an experience that I think people are getting more and more used to, of being able to work entirely online, not have to worry about attachments, not have to worry about a bunch of different versions maybe being saved on different people's computers, and it's all like one working version together, one source of truth. Is that kind of the idea?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So this is not template lifecycle management, contract lifecycle management. So how do we turn this template into a contract that will then go through the process?
Yeah, so we need to fill the placeholders within this document with data that we have within the system. And before I do that, I'll just go ahead and mark the company address variable in blue and also the receiving party address in blue, just so you can see the changes there do save when we go to create the updated document. So I'll go ahead, save. That's successfully saved. We'll go to users first, just so I can show you some sample users we have. So I'll look at Bill Ross. We'll look at some information here. I have an address, first name, last name, and email. So if we go to agreement, we'll create a new one, pick Bill Ross and the sample NDA template that we were looking at. Go ahead, hit create. This will just take a second. And again, all of this actually was done client side. So being able to even generate documents from templates is a capability that WebViewer has. So there's no server dependency on that side. So I've pulled up the sample, or it's no longer a sample actually. This is now a document specifically for Bill Ross, and you'll see all of his information here. We have his first name, his last name, and his address that I showed you in the previous screen. And if we scroll down, you'll also see there's a sign here field for Ross to sign.
When I need to generate a ton of documents, does someone need to go in manually in the front end and do it all?
So we have our server SDK, which is the back end of what I've been showing you here. It allows you to do more batch processing. So if you're a bank and you have requests to open up tens of thousands of accounts, that would all happen server side. You would generate these agreements and send them out to those users for a signature so that you can automate this entire step.
Gotcha. So that's back to where the placeholder values come in. If I have this whole database of different people, make one for each of them, and here are the different fields to pop into these different placeholder values.
Exactly. Yeah. So it'd be a unique document for each user depending on the data you have. Another thing I want to also point out, so we're logged in as an admin user. And what I'm able to do with WebViewer's UI customization is actually lock down, first the ability to fill out this document based on permissions, as this is meant for Bill Ross to sign. Also, the UI itself, I've, simplified that just to not overwhelm the user. So you have all of that flexibility as well.
Permissions, that's a good point. I'm sure in a lot of contracts, there's a lot of information that certain people shouldn't even see, even if they still need to work on the contract. Apryse can also do redactions, right?
Yes, we can do redactions, and we can do true client-side redaction where we're actually stripping that information away from the document. If they tried to reverse engineer that document, look at the PDF content stream, they wouldn't be able to find any of that data.
Contracts got to be secure, otherwise what's the point? So we have this contract generated for Bill Ross. What's the next step?
Yeah, so, in this case, let's say you wanted to send an email notification, a text message. This is all functionality that you're building within your application. You would have control over how you're notifying this user. So in this case, Bill will just have to log into the application. So we'll log out of my admin account, log into Bill Ross here. And you'll see right now, Bill Ross has a NDA that's awaiting signature. I'll go in to sign this document. Another thing I also want to show you, again, we have a different UI as now we've logged in as Bill Ross. I'll scroll down. I imagine I actually read all of this as we all do. I'll go to the bottom of this and now I can go ahead and sign. And here we have a few options. So here I can choose to draw the signature if I wanted to. We can also type out the signature or upload an image of one. I'll just type out the signature, hit create, and you'll see that's been applied. Once I hit save, this will do two things. It'll first update the document that Bill signed and also change the status of this agreement. So now if we go back, you'll see it's signed and I can no longer go ahead and edit it.
How do we know this was truly signed and then I can't go in later and change the value and say you owe me 10 times as much as whatever, change any of the terms?
There's typically two types of signatures. In this sample here, I have a simple e-signature, and that's really just a stamp on the document. What you're referring to would be a digital signature. And that's where you're taking a digital certificate so that you're able to verify if anyone's tried to tamper with it since you've signed it. And that's extremely useful in scenarios like you mentioned, where maybe you have some monetary value displayed within the agreement. You don't want someone adding 10 zeros all of a sudden, and you've agreed to pay someone more money than, yeah.
That's another thing that a developer has control over. They can change like the level of certification of the signature, since there are different types.
Yeah, and depending on the country as well, different countries have different legal requirements. But with Apryse, you have that flexibility. We offer both the e-signature and that standard digital signature that you might be used to.
A lot of that is very simple 1 or 2 line code changes for a developer to go in and make any of those tweaks.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
This is a much more simple sort of workflow where we took that template, created a document, that sent it out for signature. But you could definitely expand on this depending on the requirements needed. You can, implement, let's say, negotiation between contract parties, being able to redline, collaborate on these documents, send them out again for signature or review. So all of these functionalities we offer within our SDK. It's just a matter of what's important or what's required for your business instead of getting, an off-the-shelf CLM.
Great overview. Obviously, it can get super, super complex, and that's part of the benefit of using the Apryse SDK is as you grow, you can turn on different features, change things as you need them. You have a lot of control. Josh, hopefully, this video has given some people some ideas or made them realize that, oh, this is actually something that could be really useful for something that I have. Do you have any advice for developers who are trying to tell, their higher ups, hey, we should get this tool because it could really make a difference?
If I were to try to sum it up, it's really around the flexibility and features that Apryse has to offer. So you're able to build out a fully custom solution within your own application, making sure it's a embedded solution. It meets, security or data privacy standards that your company may have. And you're able to build that knowledge internally of all of the steps that you're building out within your CLM. And as your application grows or there's more features, you'll be able to leverage those from Apryse to build out additional capabilities as your company also grows.
Yeah. And outside of CLM use cases too, right? If you have other types of document workflows. And so, Josh, I think what that means is you're going to have to build some more demos for other use cases to show all the other ways that we can use Apryse. What do you think? Will you come back and join me again?
Yes, certainly. I'll have to build a few more demos.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. We'll be sharing the link to the GitHub repo so you can go and check out this demo for yourself, as well as our docs and more information on our website. Thanks again, Josh.
Thanks, April.